Hey everybody, Twin Dad here, and welcome back to Magium. I haven't done one of these videos in a while. Actually, I haven't done a video in a little bit because I've been really busy. I've been waking up about 4:15 in the morning, and for about 2 weeks. So by the time I get a chance to make a video, because I usually make them when my kids go to bed, so like, I don't know, you don't hear them running around in the background or whatever. And usually after they go to bed, I make a video, but I mean, by the time they go to bed and I don't know, I sit down for 5 minutes, I'm usually a big pile of uselessness. So unless you wanted to see a video of me laying face down and sleeping, then there wasn't a whole point of me to make a video, and I didn't have any pre-recorded or anything like that. So that is probably the best I could do. But anyway, enough of that. This is going to be chapter 5? I haven't done one in a little bit, so I can't really remember. Yeah, I think it's 5. Yeah, 5. Yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, here we go. I'm probably just going to go the whole way through because I wanted to split it up in parts, but you know how the last one ended. I don't really know, so one could be 4 minutes, one could be 15 minutes, so I don't really want to, I don't know, make you click on another video when I could just, there's a car going by, make you click on another video when you could just watch the whole thing. So anyway, I'm just going to do it all the way through. Alright, now we are starting. Yay. There's a slow sound of clapping hands coming from the trees. Looking to see what's making the sound, I see Eden, leaning against a pine tree with his usual smile on his face. Magnificent, he says. Those thugs never stood a chance. I would have expected no less from a survivor of the Beacon of Hope. You! Darren shouts, and he rushes toward the still water. Once again with... Whoops! I'm stupid. Never mind. Ignore that. I say I'm going to edit that out, but I probably will forget. Anyway, next chapter. My bad. You can tell it's been a while. Doot-doot-doot. Here we go. There. That makes a lot more sense. And Darren is still a moron. Darren. There's no answer. Hey, Darren. Darren suddenly wakes up and he starts looking around him confused. What happened? Where's the Stillwater? He asked me. That's the second time you asked me these exact questions. He's gone. He's vanished right after you... Blah. Right after he put you to sleep. Put me to sleep? No, that can't be. I have so much protection against sleep spells that I should almost be immune. At the very least, I should be able to keep my consciousness. Well, I'm just telling you what I saw. I don't claim to understand it either. So, would you mind telling me who the Stillwater was? Kate asked us. And what was that trade he was talking about? Me and Darren started filling her in on the details of the first encounter with Eden. After we're done talking, Kate takes a few moments to reflect on our words. So let me see if I got this right, she says. Fairy, you traded our lives for one message. Right, I say. And we need to deliver this message to any robed men we might encounter that wear a brooch. That wear a brooch with a picture of a hawk holding the sun in its talons. Yeah, does that description tell you anything? Yes, she says, and then almost immediately looks to the ground. She's hiding something again. I just know it. They're an underground group, she continues. Most of the time, they don't really show themselves in public. Nobody knows exactly who they are or what they do. Most people don't even know they exist. But there are rumors that they are being backed by the kings of Varathia. They're being backed by the kings, Darren asks. What would Eden want with these hotshots? You simply have to tell them to remember the still winter, right? I wonder what that's supposed to mean. I wonder too. It sounds like a threat. Ooh. It sounds like a threat. It sounds like a coded message. To me, it sounds like a coded message. But Eden is so strong that he probably wouldn't need a coded message, and he wouldn't care who knows. So it might be a threat. Yeah, I'm going to go with threat. It sounds like a threat to me. It would most definitely fit Eden's way of doing things as we've seen so far. He sends us to fight his enemies, and then he has a good laugh about it afterwards. Kate nods. I agree, she says. He wouldn't have left us alive just to send some old friend... Yeah, just to send a message to some old friends. A veiled threat to some old enemies, on the other hand, seems much more likely. And I'm not sure what the Stillwinter is, exactly, but I'm willing to bet that we'll get attacked the moment after we finish saying those words. So either we fight a whole underground group backed by the continent's royalty, or we fight a crazy overpowered maniac who can evaporate us in the blink of an eye. The good news is that there's no time limit. If we could just manage to avoid meeting these robed gentlemen until the end of the tournament, we could be in the clear. Now hold on, Darren says. There's no reason to assume that the message is a threat, just from the phrase's words. Besides, I think that's what's more important right now is to figure out a way to beat Eden, not talk about his message. You can't beat Eden. He just went and did... See? He's an idiot. And how do you suggest we do that exactly, Kate says. It only took him half a second to put you to sleep, and I'm pretty sure that your protections are better than mine in that department. That alone would be enough to take us all out. But I hear he has a whole arsenal of other spells in his pocket. So what? Does that mean we should all just bow down to him and now become his lackeys? When did I ever say something like that? All I'm saying is we don't have enough information to make any viable strategies against him at this point, until we find some weakness to that magic of his. We should be grateful for the time Barry's bought us with his trade, however long it might last. Maybe you're right. Hopefully the time Barry's bought for us will be enough to find out Eden's weaknesses. Kate, I say, do you have a minute? Kate is looking at me confused. Of course, she says finally, and she follows me outside the cave. As we make our way out, Darren winks at me and gives me a thumbs up. Leave it to Darren to completely misinterpret this kind of situation. Sometimes I wonder if he even understands body language at all. I'm going to ask you directly. I tell Kate once we reach the cave's entrance. What is the beacon of hope? Start to get interesting. Do you really have nothing better to do than meddle in my personal affairs? If it were just a matter of privacy, then I wouldn't have brought it up. But it's not, is it? You've been hiding things ever since we first met. It was the same when I asked you about the robed men Eden was looking after. I'm asking you because I don't want the secrecy of yours to end up getting us all killed. It won't. How can you be so sure? She looks away for a second. It just won't. She pauses. I'm not planning to keep this secret forever. It's just, this isn't the right time. I promise I will make all things clear in due time. Now, if that's all you wanted to discuss with me, I'll be going back to sleep. She heads back inside the cave, but I do not follow her. Instead, I lie down on my back against the cave's outer walls and start to collect my thoughts. A lot has happened since I joined this tournament. People are dying left and right, and the organizers are not even bothering to give us our objectives. And on top of it all, there's that Stillwater. What could he possibly look to achieve by joining a tournament like this? What is his purpose? I sit there and think. I suddenly hear a woman's voice scream coming from far in the distance. At the same time, I get a warning message flashing in front of my eyes, telling me not to hurt her because she's one of the locals. Although she's pretty far away from here, judging by the faint traces of magic that are coming from her direction, it's safe to assume that she's being attacked by monsters. They don't seem to be very big, or particularly powerful, so we're likely talking about a handful of goblins. Wow, he's very perceptive. The rules of this tournament are a bit hazy on what would happen if we were to save one of the locals from a monster attack. The general rule is not to intervene in all affairs. The general rule is not to intervene at all in the affairs of the people of Varathia, but it's not being enforced through a spell, like the rule that prevents us from directly hurting them, for example. From a logical perspective, it would be less risky not to intervene, but there's no way to know for certain that taking an action here would not get me banned from the tournament. But then, the woman screams again. This time louder, and sounding more terrified. Well, I don't know. I'm trying to get the Magium to be a wizard or a mage, so I'll call Darren to the rescue, and I'll meant to be a heroic one. This isn't the time to worry about tournament regulations. That woman's life is in danger. We need to act now. Darren, come quick. What? What's wrong? One of the locals is being attacked by a group of goblins nearby. If we hurry, we can make it in time to rescue her. Darren gets a serious look on his face and grabs his sword. Let's go, he says, as he follows me and I head in the direction of where I heard the scream. As we get closer, the monster's magical auras intensify. There's 4 of them, and they have the woman surrounded. But it doesn't seem like they've drawn blood yet. When we finally get within visual range of the attackers, my suspicions get confirmed. They're goblins, all right. Vile and hideous creatures. Not taller than 4 feet, with fangs instead of teeth, crooked noses, pointy ears, and green skin. Despite their appearances, goblins are quite intelligent and usually organized in clans with clearly defined hierarchies, unlike most other monster races. They're also smart enough to make and use tools as well as weapons and armor. Ancient languages check fail 3. Well, you can't get them all, so whatever. As soon as they see us, one of them yells something to his allies in a language I don't understand, and they all quickly make themselves scarce. Visibly, they are not prepared for an actual fight. After the goblins are gone, I turn around to make sure that the woman we saved just isn't hurt. We just saved isn't hurt in any way. Now that I get a good look at her, I'm briefly stunned by how beautiful she is. She has long auburn hair, a thin waist, a warm smile, while her facial features are soft and feminine, unlike those of Kate. Wow, that's harsh. And her light brown eyes radiate kindness. She's wearing an auburn dress to match her hair, and she appears to be somewhere in her mid-20s. The woman is now bowing elegantly before us as a gesture of gratitude. Thank you all so much for your help, she says. I don't know what I would have done without you. My name is Rose. Pleased to meet you. All in a day's work. You're lucky that we managed to make it in time. No problem. We love helping people, but we also accept donations. Yeah. Well, chances are she's walking alone in the woods and she's getting attacked by goblins, so chances are she doesn't have any money. You were lucky that we managed to make it in time. You were lucky to manage to make it in time for your rescue. What were you thinking, coming out here all by yourself? Barry, you're being too harsh, Darren tells me. That's coming from him. No, he's right, Rose says. Coming here all alone was very reckless of me. It's just that I was running out of time, and no one was willing to come with me. I had no choice. If I may ask, Kate interrupts, what were you doing all alone in the middle of the wilderness? Well, Kate, says Kate, as she points towards herself. Then she curtly points towards me and then Darren, giving Rose our names as well. Rose smiles, and she continues. Miss Kate, I was out here looking for some very rare herbs that only grow in this area of the continent. They have been an outbreak of oil drip in my hometown. That doesn't sound too pleasant at all. Yeah. And as a herbalist, I can recognize the plants that are needed for the cure. I'm sorry, what's an oil drip? Oh, I did not know this disease does not exist outside of our continent. The doctors are unsure of its cause, but what happens is that the patient's sweat becomes as thick as oil, and they get a very high fever, with violent coughing. Some of us have natural immunity to it, but those that do not are not so lucky and get quarantined somewhere and left to die on their own. The only cure we know for this disease is extracted from very rare plants that I've come here to collect. But why are you the only one that came here to get the herbs? Do you have members of your family that are infected? Why didn't you at least hire some bodyguards to go with you? Oh no, my family's fine, thank the gods. I came here because all the sick are too poor to afford the money to send anyone to collect herbs for them, and I did not have the money to hire bodyguards to come help me either. I am no doctor, but I volunteer to help tend to the sick as often as I can. With the death of our grand priest, the number of sick people increases every day. He was the last person in our town that knew how to create food using magic, and as much as he tried, he did not succeed in teaching his craft to any of his disciples. Many people are starting to get poisoned because eating the wrong berries from the forest. Others are dying of starvation, and others have resorted to... She pauses for a bit to bring herself to say the words that were on her tongue. Animal hunting. She finishes her phrase. Wait, so it's true that your continent is forbidden to hunt animals? Asked Aaron, shocked. It was. There was a time when each city of Varathia had at least 10 people that knew how to create food out of nothing, by using magic. The skill was taught to them by the Creator, and they taught it to their disciples, as well as they could. But those that could pick up the skill were very rare and talented individuals. Since the very foundation of Varathia 600 years ago, all the cities relied heavily on the Creator to find these talented individuals, and teach them this craft. But then, the Creator simply disappeared, about 100 years ago, and the number of people that still knew the food-making craft started to dwindle. With the risk of asking something oblivious, who is the Creator, Darren asks. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot how little information about us reaches the other continents. The Creator was the founder of our civilization. Everything we are today, we owe to him. He and the spirit protector of all animals, the great golden fox, decided together 600 years ago to end all war and hunger, uniting the human and animal kingdom, and leading them to an age of peace and prosperity. They taught both humans and animals how to create what they needed with magic, and thus eliminated the need for work and conflict. Food, warmth, water, shelter, every one of those things could be obtained through magical means. From what I hear, it must have been paradise. Well, no kidding, you didn't have to work? Make me a loaf of bread. Here, give me a pot. That's all you needed. That does sound like paradise. Although we live in reality, and that does not happen here. Anyway, why did the Creator disappear, and how did the Creator live so long? Well, chances are, if you can create food, and you live for 600 years, and you can create food, then chances are you probably have some spell that increase your longevity. Why did the Creator disappear? She doesn't even know that, because he disappeared suddenly. So, how did the Creator live so long? How did the Creator live so long? From what you're telling us, he must have lived at least a few hundred years. Yes, that is one of the reasons why there are more and more people that don't even believe he exists anymore. It's already been a long time since he disappeared, and he really didn't show himself to many people before either. It was mostly only members of the royal families that got to see him, and there are many that say the crater was simply an invention of the king's, and they're using his disappearance as an excuse in order to keep the power to create food for themselves. In some cities, these groups of people started rebelling against the kingdoms, and they are on the brink of civil wars. She pauses. But I must be boring you with all these stories, and I thank you all again from the bottom of my heart for rescuing me back there. I only wish there was something I could offer you in return. Darren grins. Well, you'll have time to think about it on your way home, because we're coming with you. What? Kate says? Or says Kate? That sounds like a great idea. Don't you think you should consult us before making such a decision? Why not? You just saved her from goblins, so the goblins might come back. There might be different goblins, or there might be other nefarious creatures and or humans wanting to take advantage of a apparently beautiful auburn-haired girl. So, that sounds like a great idea. That sounds like a great idea. You too? Kate asked me, disappointed. Well, it's not like we have anything else to do until they give us our objectives, I tell her. And we'll probably be safer in one of the cities out here in the wild, where we keep getting attacked every few hours. Didn't you say yourself that you don't have any specific leads to the whereabouts of the friend you're looking for right now? I suppose, but then it's settled, says Darren enthusiastically. No, Kate says. Nothing's settled. I never said I agree with this. Please listen to me, Rose interrupts. Darren, I really appreciate what you're trying to do, but I do not want you to fight your friends over it. Trust me, I'll be fine. I know I may have seemed like I didn't know what I was doing back there, but in reality I've walked these roads by myself before. I've purposely avoided all areas that are frequented by monsters or bandits, and I've done plenty of research ahead of time. The only reason I ran to these goblins was because they were a rogue group, far away from any other goblin encampments. It won't happen again. Be quiet for a second, Kate says. Do you hear that? Now that she mentions it, I can hear a faint whistling. Although I didn't recognize the tune, it's getting closer. Suddenly the music stops, just as the whistlers get in visual range of us. There's 3 of them, weapon enchanters that look, by the looks of them, they seem cleaner than Cutthroat Dave's group. They don't smell like them, but on the other than that, they don't look much different. They'll probably attack us on sight, like all the others. In here I thought we'd fill our quota for pointless fights today. Clive, do you see that? Says one of the men. By the gods, it's a banshee, says another. The third man starts screaming and falls on his back. Monster! Kill the monster, yells one of them, with sheer terror in his voice. Kate doesn't seem to be taking this very well. I wouldn't imagine. She is looking towards the ground, but this time it's not anger in her eyes. If I were to guess, I say she's feeling miserable. The man named Clive is now rushing and screaming towards Kate with a sword in his hand, ready to run her through. Darren readies his own sword, but before he gets to act, it is Rose that puts herself between Kate and the attacking mage. Stop, she yells. And the mage named Clive stops in his tracks. Get out of my way, woman, he says, or I'll kill you along with that monstrosity you're so keen on defending. You can't hurt her. I won't let you. I owe her for saving my life. And you can't hurt me either. I'm a citizen of Varathia. Ha! You think your dumb rules can stop me? I've murdered people before. I'll teach you a little trick. As long as they don't catch you in the act, there's no real proof. What? You don't really believe in their fairy tales about the spell somehow teleporting me away before I kill you, do you? Anyone smarter than a rat would be able to tell that's just a bluff. He's right. Even for magic, a spell like the one Varathia's claimed to have cast on us would go much beyond what we know possible, to stop an attack before it even occurs. You would need something akin to thought reading. Clive, one of the other men says, maybe we should let her be. We shouldn't be going around attacking locals on our second day. Don't worry, I won't be attacking her, Clive says with a wicked grin. I'm just going to teach this little whore her place. No, Darren shouts as he runs towards Rose. At the same time, Kate extends her arm towards Clive, and an ice cone is slowly coming out of her palm. Clive quickly slashes her knife at Rose's face, and she instinctively closes her eyes. The mage stops to strike mere inches away from his target, and his whole body starts to vibrate loudly as he gets enveloped in a white light. He starts to say, but he gets teleported out of the continent and away from the tournament. What did you do, Clive? You filthy... The man who started talking was immediately interrupted by one of Kate's cones of ice that went through his right shoulder. Huh, he didn't do nothing. Normally I wouldn't think twice about killing scum like you, Kate says, but I'd rather spare Rose from witnessing a gruesome bloodbath. So I'm offering you a chance to retreat. What do you say? The man with a cone of ice in his right shoulder is grinding his teeth. Forget the banshee, he says to his comrade. Let's get out of here. Once the two of them get far enough away, Kate turns to Rose and says, I've changed my mind. I would be honored to serve as your escort until you reach your hometown. I'm sorry for having misjudged you. What you just did was very brave and heroic. See, I was right. They did get attacked. So what if we would have said no and disagreed with it? Mind you, I don't know how much the storyline would change because we probably just would have went anyway. Really? Because to me it just seemed reckless and stupid. Since when do you appreciate bravery and heroism? I'll go with this one. Since when do you appreciate bravery and heroism? Kate, who was standing right beside me, punched me in my right shoulder. Her punch was strong enough to leave a decent bruise. Kate, have you ever heard of moderation? Shut up. You asked for it. I was trying to be nice and you ruined the moment. Yeah, well, being nice doesn't suit you. Now, punching people on the other hand. Rose lets out a giggle, which catches our attention. I'm sorry, she says, smiling. It's just you remind me of my little brother and sister who always have fights like this. You two seem really close. Kate is blushing. This is the first time I've seen her blush since I met her yesterday. It kind of suits her. I can see why, Darren says, grinning. Barry's smitten with Kate ever since we first laid eyes on her. You what? Kate asked me, taking Darren's joke a little too seriously. Hey now, says Darren. You'll have to continue this conversation later in private. Now there's the four of us. We'll need to rethink our battle strategy. We need to make sure nothing happens to Rose if we encounter any monsters on our way in our hometown. And so we ended up spending the rest of the morning discussing different tactics and stratagems. See, that's the end of That's the end of That's the end of chapter 5, I think. See, this one wasn't very long. So if I would have waited 15 minutes, I'm not sure how long I've been doing this, but if I would have waited about 15 minutes, that probably would have only been like a 2 or 5 minute video. So I'm just going to continue the whole way through, and it's going to be like that. So yeah, that was actually pretty interesting, and we picked up a new teammate. Sounds good to me. Maybe Barry will get both of them. You never know. Hard to say. Or Darren's just too ignorant and hateful to end up with anybody. He's probably alone, and he probably always will be alone. But thanks for watching my video, and I appreciate it. And there will be more Magium to come. I'm not really sure how many chapters is in here. I might like Google it later or something. But yeah, that was pretty interesting end to the episode. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.